Hey, I'm Sean Finnegan, here with IGN. I'm taking a look at Warzone Firefight. I'm here joined by David Ellis from 343.
Hey Sean, thanks for joining us today. We're playing Warzone Firefight, which is our new 8-player cooperative multiplayer experience coming to Halo 5 Guardians. We're going to launch in real quick. I'm playing, so if you have any complaints about the skill level, it's not on Sean. He's been winning plenty today. I'm just happen to be driving for this particular instance. Warzone Firefight, like I said, is our new 8-player cooperative mode coming to Halo 5. As you can see, it sort of plays out frenetically. Everyone can use their own custom Spartan color, which is sort of unique. I think FFA, Free For All, is the only other playlist where we support that. So if you have a bright pink Spartan you want to fight with, you can bring them onto the battlefield. We have a multitude of objectives. Basically have 5 rounds, 1 objective per round, and each round as you progress in difficulty. So round 5 is going to be a lot tougher than round 1. But round 1's no slouch here.
Right, and we're just taking a look at the first 2 rounds because these matches are pretty long, right? It takes some teamwork and some time to get towards the end. And sometimes, like in previous matches that I've been up here at 343, sometimes we don't even make it to the 5th round because it can be pretty tough. It takes some coordination.
Coordination definitely is the key. I think you hit on a perfect point there. In this particular instance, we've done a good job of clearing out the smaller level enemies, and now we're moving in, and the soldier enforcers. We've kind of pushed them back, and we can sort of overwhelm them with our numbers. If we try to move in through earlier, while there's a bunch of crawlers and soldiers moving around, we're just not going to survive very long, and suddenly your 8-player party goes to 4 players or less as you're waiting for your buddies to respawn.
So at the end of each round, your team, like after completing the round, completing the objective, you are granted a bunch of stuff, like you're awarded points, like XP and RP based on basically your performance, right?
Yeah, and so as you're playing, if you've played Warzone previously, you'll recognize that you have your rec level that you're earning by completing objectives, killing enemies throughout the match. And what that does is you can go to these rec terminals during the match or during the intermission between hand. You can then change out your loadout weapons, add any power weapons that you've unlocked at that point, or in this case, I'm going to call in a Warthog. Because I think that's going to be fun. Should be coming out of unfortunately, I think all my buddies are going to be on the other side of the map because I've called it into the home base. But I'm going to try to do a mad dash through a bunch of enemies and get someone on this gunner turret. So teammates, meet me in the tunnel if you can. I need your assistance.
And then, so yeah, based on like how many kills you're getting personally or as a team and how fast you're completing the rounds, you're gaining more XP, gaining more RP, and basically just getting stronger as the match goes on and on, correct?
Yeah, and once again, it's like if you played Warzone, at the beginning of the match, you have your basic loadout weapons, assault rifle, pistol, that sort of thing. But by the end, if you want to, you can start calling in power weapons or get completely wrecked by a soldier. And that's kind of, you get a sense of progression mid-match, so by the time you get to the end of the match, you feel like this incredibly powerful super soldier. You may have called in one of like the new Mantis, like the Hannibal Mantis, which is just insanely powerful against certain enemies. But if you're really good with the DMR, you can also come in handy too, especially with some of the bosses if there are some watchers you're trying to prevent from healing a boss that you're engaged with.
Basically, there's all sorts of different applicable styles of play and weapons and vehicles to be using in these things. Tell us a little bit about the objectives. Like each round has its own objective and it varies. And you were telling me while we were off camera that it's so rare because of how you guys have designed it that you'll have a similar 5-round structure that's the same as anything you've been doing before.
Yeah, so for each round, we basically have a bucket of objectives that the dynamic objective systems can sort of pull from. It's not completely random because each objective is weighted, so you have a % chance for each objective to fire. For example, we just got one of the objectives, which is defend the garage in round 3, so our goal is to prevent the enemy attackers from capturing this garage. And our overall way we complete it is by killing 100 of these attackers. So
right, and you can see in the bottom hand corner there's a little counter for we're now at 14 out of 15, 17 out of 100, and they'll keep spawning and keep trying to capture this until we make it through the round or barely survive. Right?
Yeah, and you can see when I'm in the base, it gives me a heads up to let me know how many enemies are in the base. Right now there are 12. If I move right outside the base, you'll see that'll change a little bit. And if you've played Warzone Assault, for example, this is going to be familiar to you, but it's going to play quite a bit differently because you're just swarmed by just dozens and dozens of AIs. One of the advantages in the fact that we have 8 players here is we can push more AI than pretty much anywhere in the game. So in some cases, there are literally dozens of enemies that you're having to deal with. But fortunately, there's a lot of weapons and vehicles you can call in to help dispatch with them. I switched over to SMG because we have these Phaetons that are patrolling above here in the garage, and they do a ton of damage, and actually the SMG is a great weapon for trying to burn them down pretty quickly. I'm actually shooting its weak point, which is right in the rear behind its mid, between its engines, but you can see a little UI element. They've captured almost a quarter of it. Teammate just used a Spartan laser to help burn him down, so we can actually start pushing back into the garage at this point. We're about halfway there. We're actually doing pretty good. Last time we played this, unfortunately, we didn't do a good job of keeping those Phaetons out of the sky. And
yeah, we kind of ignored them, thinking like it wouldn't impede us from getting to the base, and we were totally wrong about that. And it slowed us down enough to where we couldn't keep the enemies from capturing the base.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I think we got cocky. In fact, I think I'm a little cocky here. I can't believe I survived that. I'm going to run away, let my teammates deal with that.
Wow, so many.
We just got an influx of enemies. I'm going to try to ground pound and get out of there. I just got some extra ammo. Let's see what rank I'm. I just got a level 4. I'm going to call in a power weapon.
This is the other really cool thing is like because you have so many different power weapons and so many different like situations and objectives, like one power weapon that may be working for like an interior location like this may not exactly work for a different one. I remember in an earlier match we were playing and in our home base there were hunters, which you'll never actually see in a Warzone match, but in Firefight it could totally happen. You guys were telling us that the Firefight mechanics and mode allows you kind of to design things, encounters differently. Tell me a little bit about that and what experimenting like that was in the design process.
So that's been one of the fun things about revisiting a lot of these spaces. If you've played Warzone previously, you're going to recognize Escape from Arc from Warzone. But we use spaces, like for example with the garage, you may have one situation at the beginning of a match when you take out, oh, that soldier just stopped my assassination.
How did he live?
What a jerk. You have to take out initial assault of enemies at the beginning of a match, but after that, you'll have other players you have to deal with, but in general, you don't have that kind of frenetic action that's going on. We're actually in a good spot here. We only have 4 enemies to take out, but fortunately, you're seeing what I was talking about with the Phaetons, where they really have us bucketed in, so I'm just going to chuck some grenades in there.
Hope that does it.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to level up again real quick.
There you go.
Finish that guy off right there. But I think that's been one of the fun things of using bosses in locations that, because one of the things we learned throughout development of Warzone is you want to be careful where you place your boss encounters, because you don't really want a player who's running from like point A to point B to randomly get killed by a boss along the way. You want it to be a meaningful choice that a player makes to actually decide to engage with a boss. But because we can sort of focus the player's attention a little bit more in Warzone Firefight, with only having one objective per round, you can really kind of play around where we have bosses compared to other modes. This is another one of the objectives which we probably noticed earlier in the match, which is sort of find and kill. And our goal here is pretty simple. We're tasked with killing a certain number of a specific enemy type.
And they'll just spawn randomly kind of all throughout the map, right?
Yep, and it's sort of a two-pronged thing. It's kind of a race with your buddies to see who can kill the most of them, because you notice we have a personal score that ticks up in the bottom right-hand corner, so you can sort of compete with your buddies a little bit. It's also going to help you rank up your Rex faster, so that you can have that more powerful gear than your friends by the end of the match, gain all the glory for yourself, if you want to. But it's sort of two-pronged in that you're sort of racing, but you're also just racing around the map to try to find all the enemies that are on the map. I got an assist on that. I'll take it.
Yeah,
we're actually doing pretty good. We got 5 out of 15. But I know where the knights spawn, so...
You have a little bit of an unfair advantage.
I know where to go.
Well, thank you very much, David, for kind of showing us that. Those are the first 3 rounds of the brand new Firefight Warzone Firefight mode that's coming to Halo 5 very soon. Thank you very much for showing this. I'm happy to be up here, and it looks really awesome. I'm very excited to play it.
Well, thank you very much for coming, and I'm pretty sure I'm about to die.
For everything else, Halo and Warzone Firefight, you are already in the right place. IGN.